Hey everyone, welcome to the channel again, and leave me a comment below on how things are going for you, what you're noticing, because as you notice the shifts, maybe you're responding in a new way. Maybe when people try to get a rise out of you, you notice it's not happening. Is it easier for you to make decisions? Let me know what's shifting for you. And also, most importantly, let me know what's not shifting for you so we can make content for you. And in this video, we're going to go through chapter 7 of The Residue of Trauma, Learned Helplessness, Finding Positive Change When the World Feels Against You. And so we're going to jump right in. I'll post my little disclaimer for a bit, and then we'll go right into the audio of me reading chapter 7. The Residue of Trauma, chapter 7. The tightrope of validation, the role of praise and guidance. Quote, when we consistently suppress and distrust our intuitive knowingness, looking instead for authority, validation, and approval from others, we give our personal power away. Shakti Gawain. Praise and guidance are essential experiences in shaping an individual's sense of competency and agency. However, when there is an imbalance, either through overindulgence or neglect, this can inadvertently foster a sense of helplessness. Too much praise can lead to a reliance on external validation, or the Dunning-Kruger effect, overestimating one's ability, while too little guidance can leave individuals feeling lost, unsupported, an underestimation of their abilities, imposter syndrome. Praise, when appropriately given, can build self-esteem and reinforce positive behaviors. It helps an individual feel valued and capable of doing more. The nature and frequency of praise can significantly affect how individuals internalize their sense of worthiness. When someone is constantly praised, especially for trivial achievements, they develop an inaccurate sense of their skills and often are not adequately prepared to face life's bigger challenges. Overpraise can create a pressure to attain higher standards, which often makes mistakes feel catastrophic. The flip side of this can create a lack of action from the false belief they aren't doing enough. Excessive praise for innate qualities can foster a fixed mindset, where individuals believe their abilities are static. This prevents them from having perseverance in the face of challenges. When individuals have too much input from other individuals, a fear of acting independently can develop. The opposite of this is becoming resentful or rebellious from feeling oppressed from real or perceived authority. They want to do it all their way, yet might lack the tools to act effectively on their own because overpraise steals independence from another. Often those who struggle with autonomy may only feel competent under the supervision of others, leading to learned helplessness. On the opposite spectrum, neglect, a lack of praise and guidance, often leads individuals to feeling undervalued, as though their efforts and achievements are insignificant. This neglect can create an aversion to effort. They don't feel a reward or satisfaction for completing a task from the lack of positive feedback. For others, the lack of guidance and feedback can leave an individual unable to discern how to approach challenges, to discern what their next step is. In the absence of direction, it reinforces the idea that they must figure everything out alone, taking on all of the unknown risk, which leads to feeling overwhelmed or the need to withdraw, or to recoil at the first sign that things aren't going as expected. This lack of support during the formative experiences can lead to chronic self-doubt as one watches others succeed as they struggle to get rewarded. Being left in situations with little acknowledgement or harsh feedback, and no direction is given on how to course correct, is the mixture for failure. This pattern left unchecked internalizes into a belief that they are inherently incapable of engaging fully in life because it feels like too much. This developed behavior of quitting too soon or hanging on too long in situations that are unhealthy. A level of effective discernment was never developed through trial and error and positive encouragement to continue in the face of challenges. When there is a mismatch between praise and guidance, individuals may feel as if their life is one bad surprise after another, despite being told they are capable. This leads to a disconnection between self-perception and real-world competence. Inconsistencies between praise and guidance, such as high praise but low guidance, can create confusion and anxiety. The reverse of a lot of guidance and a little praise often creates feelings of not knowing when to stop. Patterns of working hard for a tiny thank you. Patterns of intermittent reinforcement, which is the lack of consistency or predictability, causes addictive tendencies in people and between people. I have noticed many people stay in unhealthy relationships because of this push-pull, high-low dopamine hit that comes from unpredictable people. I redirect my clients to witness a person's behavior and have them report what insights they have noticed. In extreme cases, I have them practice not listening to the words that come out of another person's mouth and only respond to the other's behavior. Behavior is a language, often a clear telling of truths. When we play the matching game, how much of the individual's words match their behavior? If they don't match, it's time to be moving on. If you can't walk away, then at least keep them at arm's length, or spend as little time with them as possible, no matter how painful it is in the moment. Why? Glad you asked. 1, they are often doing this on purpose, which means they can't be trusted. 2, if they aren't doing it on purpose, then there's a bigger problem under all of that mismatch of words and behaviors. Texting as a form of communication can create the illusion that more is going on than there really is. It is impossible to get to know someone in a deeply personal way unless you see them in action, in real life, in the wild, as I say. Individuals that are skilled at stirring up emotions with words, this is how marketing works, have a great power over others. People base their choices on their emotions most of the time, which isn't bad if you know that that's what you are doing. It took me a while to realize I used to make most of my choices out of fear, always wanting to be prepared for any situation. In some ways, this made me successful, and in other ways, feeling exhausted from the constant hypervigilance. It's helpful to know what are the top 3 emotions that move you into action, beneficial action or harmful actions. This is a powerful exercise for anyone to do. The list I use is happy, sad, contempt, surprise, fear, disgust, and anger. Once we find the main driving emotional forces, I start to direct an individual to finding their sweet spot. Being able to find a balance between nurturing, competence, and independence is a sweet spot. To avoid fostering learned helplessness, it's essential to strike a balance between praise and guidance that encourages both confidence and independence. Effective praise is specific and sincere. Praise should focus on effort, improvement, and specific achievements rather than a vague or excessive compliment. Instead of saying, "Wow, you're talented," you might say, "I'm impressed by how much effort you put into this project." To encourage a growth mindset, praise a person's effort and resilience rather than their innate ability, emphasizing that learning new skills is nothing more than the process of making the unfamiliar familiar. Sounds easy until you start putting it into action. What are the things you need to be familiar with to be more successful in life? Giving yourself praise for a job well done is a good practice. Balanced guidance. Offering support without overstepping. Clear boundaries empower an individual to make decisions and solve problems while providing a safety net when needed. Instead of offering immediate solutions, ask questions that prompt an individual to think critically and to explore more options. Examples might be, "What do you think your best options are?" Or, "Give it a try first, and if you need help, come get me." Instead of giving up at the first sign of friction, ask yourself, "What are my next steps?" Or, "How have others with this problem solved it?" We can be solution-seeking machines when we know how to ask the right question. Fostering autonomy. Gradually increasing the opportunity for independent decision-making. How are low-risk situations handled? Allowing an individual or yourself to strengthen independence by doing low-risk actions first. Celebrating attempts at independence, even if the results don't go as planned. It's not possible to make somebody else happy. However, when an individual has learned the skills to navigate life, they have a chance to develop their own happiness. The true problem is the lack of developing a group of life skills. This creates the downward spiral of learned helplessness. Modeling resilience. Watching how others navigate challenges and setbacks constructively helps problem-solving skills by proxy. Seek role models that embrace challenge as a part of growth and become curious as to what skills they have developed to do this. Individuals that get back in the game of life after a real or perceived failure have developed the ability to validate themselves, the ability to take an inventory of what needs to be improved, and creating new action steps to get them out of the situation they are currently experiencing. Most resilient people have mentors or a good game plan, and seeking out other positive people. Most resilient people have mentors or a good game plan and seek out other positive people. Resilient individuals can accept where they are in life, which can be hard to do, yet this frees them to make new choices. Understanding the dynamics of praise and guidance makes it easier to foster an environment that empowers individuals to believe in their abilities and take ownership of their actions. For those already caught in the grip of learned helplessness, restoring this balance offers a path towards renewed confidence, autonomy, and a life free from the shadow of inaction. The environment you are steeped in daily matters. Cluttered environments make it harder to finish tasks and is an energy leak for many. The more disorganized the outer environment, the more focus it takes to support a better inner environment. This is the end of Chapter 7. Chapter 7 audio will follow. How was that? We're going to go through the questions real quick as we get prepared to go into the next clearing audio or integration. Your body will decide which one it wants to do. And for chapter 7, again, we're going to check in on how are you feeling? How are those sensations in your body? What did that chapter stir up for you to bring into that active experience? Things you're thinking and feeling. Maybe it's just a sensation in your body, maybe a level of discomfort. So the first question is, when you feel seen, what sensations do you have in your body? That feeling of, is it safe to be seen? Many of us don't have that secure feeling that when others fully see us, that it's safe. And again, how are you praised as a child? Did you get positive praise? How were you punished as a child? It's a topic we revisited. And what emotions do you want to feel? And then we'll go into the integration audio. Chapter 7. And if you have your journal tracker sheet ready, we're going to go through the exact same process that we have been for the last 6 chapters again. Setting your intention for what is it that you want to shift during this session. And if you're not sure, we're just going to go through several questions to shift things as they relate to chapter 7. So taking a few breaths, closing your eyes, bringing your attention inward. And I offer my disclaimer that I am not a medical professional. I don't offer any advice. And anyone using resources off of my website take full responsibility for their mental health behaviors and choices. And I ask permission to work with your superconsciousness. In relation to chapter 7, or the topic you have selected, what are the things that you are doing right now that are working for you? And you can write them down, because when you notice the things that are working for you, it anchors it more strongly in your nervous system so that you can reinforce that behavior so you can have more of it. You take a moment to write those down. And what would you like to create? What emotions would you like to feel in relation to the ones you feel right now? What would be more positive for you to feel, and jot those down? And make sure you take a little moment focusing in on how you feel before we start the session, because we're getting ready to move into the magnetic mind session. And again, closing your eyes, focusing on the breath and pulling your energies and your intention and your focus inward. When you feel seen, what sensation do you have in your body? For some, feeling seen feels a bit like they're being exposed. And how does that make you feel? Allow those sensations to come up in the body. And I'm going to speak with your superconsciousness. Superconsciousness, please treat these sensations and treat all judgments that are associated to and with these sensations. And treat any meaning that has been attached to or with these sensations in the body. And when ready, do a massive history change and everything after that. Treating all tension, treating any tightness, treating any anxious feelings, any nervousness, any heart palpitations, any sensations where the body goes cold or hot. Treat all of that with a massive history change and everything after that. The superconsciousness, please treat any emotions or ideas or thoughts around, I can't trust my body, I can't control my body freaks me out. And treat all of that with a massive history change and everything after that. And again, focusing on the sensation of feeling exposed or seen. For some people, I'll have them imagine standing in front of a group of people or a huge audience. Public speaking can be one of the biggest fears of people. So if you were standing in front of a huge audience, or maybe just a small group of friends, what is the worst thing that you are afraid someone could find out about you? Allow that to come into your active awareness. The superconsciousness, please treat this fear with a massive history change and everything after that. Please treat all thoughts, beliefs, meanings, attachments associated to or with this fear of being exposed, being found out. Treating any perfectionism, treating any hypervigilance, and treating any avoidant behavior because they're afraid this will be found out. And when ready, take and treat it with a massive history change and everything after that. And again, continue breathing and noticing. We're going to move on to the next question. How were you praised as a child? Or were you praised at all? Bring that into your active experience. Maybe there's a particular event that comes up for you. And how did that make you feel? And even if it's a positive feeling, that's okay. And superconscious, when ready, take and treat all of this with a massive history change and everything after that. Again, breathing and noticing. Breathing and noticing. Allowing the emotions to come up from a particular event. And how did that make you feel? What sensations in the body does it bring up? What fears? And superconscious, take all of that with a massive history change and everything after that. Were you praised with strings attached? Maybe you had one of those persons where we offer the metaphor of a tit for tat, that if you did something, you expected something in return, or if they did something, they expected you to do something in return. The superconsciousness, as they bring this into their active experience, please treat all cords, treat all enmeshments, and align them with their own inner sovereignty. Align them with their own inner praise, their own inner acknowledgement. So they no longer rely on exterior praise, so they can no longer be manipulated with exterior praise. And when ready, do a massive history change and everything after that. And take a deep breath. Then we're moving on to the next question. How are you punished as a child? How did adults and others redirect you? We're going to hold all of that with love and compassion as you allow it to come into the active experience. And super consciousness, please treat all of this with a massive history change and everything after that. Treating all emotions, treating all stress, all fear, treating all confusion. Treating the confusion on, why am I being treated this way? Also treat the phrase, it's not fair, life's not fair, I don't get my fair share, anything that has to do with fairness. Treat that with a massive history change and everything after that. Do a sentence procedure on life isn't fair. Treating all doubts, all fears, all resentments, all anger, all frustration, all points of giving up hope. And then treat that in the collage of emotions that come up after the phrase, life's not fair. And treat that with a massive history change and everything after that. Taking a deep breath. Breathing and noticing what you're noticing. Super consciousness, treat all anger as it comes into the active experience. Treat all rage. Treat denial. And again, treat the confusion and treat all patterns that are creating disorganization in thoughts, feelings, and mind around the theme of punishment. When ready, do a massive history change and everything after that. And then as we move into the next question, what emotions do you not want to feel? Is it fear, grief, anger, judgment? Just pick the one that feels the most uncomfortable. And bring that emotion into your active experience, breathing and allowing. Explore this emotion. What makes it so uncomfortable? What does it mean about you if you feel it? What happens in your body and your mind when you feel this emotion? And super consciousness, when ready, take all this and treat it with a massive history change and everything after that. Super consciousness, treat all fragile parts. Wrap them in a warm blanket, adding the metaphor of their safety in numbers. And again, treating all the fragile parts with a massive history change and everything after that. Reinforcing their positive coping mechanisms, reinforcing their positive emotions, their positive feelings. The superconsciousness reinforce the feeling of connection, self-connection. Many times when we're having negative emotions, we can have a tendency to disconnect from ourselves. Treat this connection to self and strengthen it with a massive history change and everything after that. Again, taking a deep breath. And again, focusing on this emotion. Is there a specific event that's connected to it? Specific people? Allow that to come into your active experience. We're going to take that with a massive history change and everything after that. Taking a deep breath. And super conscious, again, we want to treat to the meaning of all this. The meaning of the emotion, the meaning of the event, the meaning of these people. And again, treating the basic neural network of the visual system, treating everything that they saw and how that anchored into the body and the mind, offering the metaphor that some things cannot be unseen. In superconsciousness, we ask that you treat all of that with a massive history change and everything after that. Anchoring positive visuals into the heart, anchoring positive visuals into the brain with a massive history change and everything after that. Breathing and noticing. Then we're going to shift to, what is it you would like to create? What would you like to feel in your life? Joy, happiness, connection, community. What would you like to feel and bring that into your active experience? See if you can feel it now. The superconscious, please treat this creation and treat anything that contradicts this creation, any resistance to it, any mind barriers, and treat all of the negative things coming up that block this emotion from being felt in the active experience. And continue treating the negative emotions until they are completely false, with a massive history change and everything after that. Again, focusing on what's the more positive emotion you want to feel. And a lot of times when we're trying to bring in that positive energy of that emotion, everything that doesn't match it or contradicts it has a tendency to come up. So super consciousness, please treat all anxiety, all fear, any resistance, disbelief, doubt, that this emotion could be felt. It could be part of their experience. The superconscious treated on all levels of mind, and all levels of physiology. And treat it all with a massive history change and everything after that. And as I continue to focus on it, we ask that you do the closure procedure. And between now and the next session, again, take anything that's needed and trade it out for self-empowering emotions and coping mechanisms. And again, anchoring all of this into the matrix of the universe. And with your permission, we will close the session. And how was chapter 7 for you? How we're praised or criticized as a child or even as an adult really does steer us in certain directions. So this is a good chapter to go over for those of you who feel, so like I know when I was a child, a lot of times, whether it was in school or even sometimes with my parents, the focus was always on the things that were not done, not so much the things that were done. And I think that also just feeds into the hypervigilance that I had developed because I became, and I can still get into that rut of, oh, what's not done yet? Like, and not actually fully embrace all the things that I have done. So a good, powerful practice at the end of the day, even as before you go to bed, is to focus on what are all the things I got done today? What are all the things I didn't get done? And to be able to reward yourself, almost have like a little, party of like, ooh, I got this done and I got this done and I got this done. Because again, the reticular formation in the brain, especially the brainstem, is going to start motivating you to do more and more stuff because it's getting a reward for it. Whether it's a pat on the back, whether it's a, great job. For some people, I have them jump up and down. You have to have some kind of a physical sensation or an emotion of like, oh, you know what? I nailed that. I did a good job. And I don't care if it's like, yeah, I nailed those dishes or, I made those phone calls. You really have to give yourself that praise so that you are wiring within your nervous system I did it and a reward for getting things done. Many times what happens when we did not, especially through childhood, And I see this all the time and at work, that if you do not get a reward for completing something, we have a tendency to go into what is a dynorphin cycle. And the dynorphin is what makes us feel bad. So endorphins make us feel good, and dynorphins make us feel bad. So if you feel bad a lot, you have a very high dynorphin load. And one of the easiest ways to get your body to stop making dynorphins is to go do the thing that needs to be done and then give yourself a reward. Oh my God, I got this cleaned, or I made that phone call, or I connected with that person. And then reward yourself, because our parents aren't there anymore to do it for us. And maybe they didn't do it for us in the first place. And that's because of their own trauma. So anytime you're focusing on your parents going, it's my parents' fault, I hate my parents, whatever that is, really remind yourself that's because of their trauma. It really had nothing to do with you. And I know sometimes that's hard to kind of wrap our brain around, but if they could have done better, they would have. So we can get more into the endorphin and dynorphin cycles if you want to, but I'm going to go ahead and bring chapter 7 to a close so we can go on to chapter 8.